bring the energy, he'll do the rest. Martinez Company, powered by Sports Radio 102.9 The Game.
You're going to hear it right here.
The show starts now.
It feels good to see the world getting loose. Feels good to see the world getting loose. I don't know about you, Sack Noel. I don't know about you, Phenom. I don't know about you, Mike Shadow. I don't know about you, but I feel good.
Good morning, everyone. And yes, indeed. I don't know about you, but I know I'm always feeling good. And we thank you all for tuning in to Martinez Company here live this morning on a Wednesday, hump day already. Middle part of the week, which is absolutely fantastic. We got about a week away from celebrating probably the biggest college season of the year. And no, I'm not talking about college sports. I'm actually talking about everybody knows you have Thanksgiving and then you have Thanksgiving Eve, but it's basically become where those who have gone off to college like the first year and then they come back home and they hang out with their friends and so on and so forth because they all don't go to the same college. But they come back home, they celebrate, becomes a big party night. It's almost actually become as big of a party night as in New Year's. So a week away from Thanksgiving Eve, and of course, not that far away either from Thanksgiving. So if you guys are traveling, as always, be safe, no matter where you travel by land, air, or sea. I'm Angel Martinez here, host of Martinez Company from 10 to 12, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And as always, you can always make your live social media comments here on Rumble, LinkedIn, Kicks, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, X, as a lot of folks that I'm calling it, and maybe soon on Instagram. You never know as things continue to grow and evolve and things of that nature. But we thank you all once again for tuning in. Later on at the bottom of the hour, we're going to have Coach Hevia from the Wesley Chapel Kings as he has an announcement to make, and we'll find out too what's going on, the latest with the Wesley Chapel Kings as the GBA will kick off come next season. They're going to be having open practices coming up soon for those who want to try out for the team. So he's coming up then at 11 a.m. from Before the 90 Days on TLC. It is Vanya from Orlando. You guys know that she is currently dating Bojo, who is out there in Croatia. So she went out there to go spend time with him. And if you guys have not kept up with the episodes, the last one, kind of tough for Vanya, because as Bojo had mentioned, he just wanted to be like really good friends. If you guys miss it, they always play the replays throughout the week, depending on who your cable provider is. Normally, Wednesdays are repeated. So if you missed the one on Sunday night, which you can watch Before the 90 Days from 8 to 10 p.m. on Sundays. And of course, and that's Before the 90 Days. Then they have the other version of it on Mondays. So, which is 90 Day Fiance. So regardless, make sure you always take a look at the TLC network and see what they're up to. First thing this morning, right at the gate there is Penguin AZ. Good morning, Penguin AZ. Good morning, Amano Angel and Martinez Company. Chat, let's effing go. And Rick says, morning the Penguin AZ, as they always exchange pleasantries back and forth here. Don't forget, you can call or text the show at 727-858-6650. 727-858-6650. All right. Lots of stuff to get into, including obviously the Jets let go of their former GM, who used to also be the GM with the Eagles. And listen, Joe Douglas, I thought he did a great job when it came to the Jets as far as putting what he possibly could put together for New York. But New York has their own issues. They have Aaron Rodgers and whatever. You got Aaron, they got Aaron. Everybody's got Aaron. Nobody wants him. Who knows where he's at? Somewhere on vacation land. Maybe he went back overseas. Maybe he's in a dark room trying to find himself. Listen, I don't know. All I know is that the Jets have more problems than they think by letting go of Robert Saleh earlier this season, and then followed by the now GM, and I don't know who they're going to get rid of next. And then the one thing that Peter mentioned on his show this morning was that they mentioned, would it be an insult if they decide to sit down Aaron Rodgers or bench him? Don't know how that's insulting. It probably wouldn't be if you decided to keep him behind the QB number one position. But then again, listen, things continue to happen in the NFL. There's no rhyme, reason, explanation, whatever you want to call it. It is what it is, but we'll see what the Jets will end up doing next. Some of the guys from Get Up, I'll play a couple of videos from there as well. Their take on how they feel what went down. And a couple other videos from Get Up as well. Some interesting take on how they feel about who should be candidates coming up, or even head coaches that should be coach of the year. So I'll bring that up momentarily. And then there's a story two about still the fight that a lot of people either like it, love it. I don't know what else to say, but there's been a couple of instances where some of these folks still don't believe on if actually the fight was rigged or not. But this was interesting. This is from the Daily Mail. And this is the from NFL legend Michael Irvin, who claims that Jake Paul-Mike Tyson fight was rigged due to a secret contract clause. Now, who knows? There's been, like I said, a lot of rumors, a lot of speculation to what was talked about. But to start off here, he says Dallas Cowboys legend Michael Irvin has shared a theory that suggested Mike Tyson was restricted during his fight against Jake Paul last week. The 27-year-old Paul easily defeated the 58-year-old Tyson on Friday night on Netflix as the former heavyweight champion landed only 18 punches while lumbering around the ring in a futile attempt to chase down his younger opponent. The former YouTuber later claimed that he held back against Tyson because he didn't want to hurt someone that didn't need to be hurt. Okay, in boxing, that's not the way it works. Normally, you attack your opponent because the whole reason was, other than obviously getting paid as they both did, but the reason behind it too is because you want to beat your opponent. However, Irvin claimed that it was Tyson that was being forced into holding back due to a mystery clause in a contract. Quote, I was looking for that patent, one in the body, one on the uppercut. The 58-year-old former NFL player began explaining on the herd. When he hits that, it's boom, boom, boom. I want to see that, but we didn't get that one, not a one. And I saw someone else saying that it was in the contract, no uppercuts. They had it in the contract. Come on, guys. Why wouldn't Mike Tyson throw an uppercut? Which is, if that's the case, that would be really interesting. Mike Irvin, Colin Cowherd believe that Mike Tyson couldn't uppercut Jake Paul because of his contract clause. The former wide receiver went on to say that, like Tyson's situation, to his own, claiming that if he could return to the football field, then he wouldn't be held back. If Michael Irvin had good knees and could still play football but didn't run a set route, something's fixed, Irvin added. Colin Cowherd, host of the herd on FS1, agreed with Irvin's theory but went on to expand on it, suggest it could have had bigger repercussions on the fight. It was a killer shot and he didn't throw one, Cowherd echoed. Jake Paul, by about the fifth round, had a chance to knock out Tyson. And I wonder if what you said, did Jake Paul say, listen, I signed a contract, he can't throw an uppercut, so I'm going to humiliate him, he added. Irvin isn't the only conspiracy theory to emerge from Netflix showdown, after many fans claim Paul's unanimous victory was fixed, pointing to a moment in the bout they believe proved it. Jake Paul signaling for Mike to take it easy, one fan wrote in a post that included a clip of Tyson landing a chin shot. Paul reached out to him by sticking his tongue out and taunting Tyson as to say the punch didn't bother him. Now, the article continues to go on and says, it's something that Paul has done in previous fights and even outside the ring. The former YouTube star has made a habit of sticking out his tongue. But according to these conspiracy theorists, Tyson was signaling. Spokespeople for Most Valuable Promotions decided to decline comment on when contacted by the dailymail.com. A Netflix spokesman did not immediately respond to requests for comment. The fan theory may not be supported by evidence. Many surprised the fight was even sanctioned after it was initially delayed in June when Tyson suffered an ulcer flare-up on a cross-country flight. Last week, Tyson claimed he nearly died on that plane and ultimately had 8 blood transfusions as he recovered from the incident. So, don't know if you guys want to put in your thoughts or not, and people feel that if it was going to be fixed. Listen, there's been, again, so much talk whether it's fixed, whether it wasn't fixed, how much people believe, don't believe on actually what happened within the fight. I don't know. All I know is it was what, one got 20 million, the other one got 10 million. Obviously they both wanted paydays. The way I look at it, Jake Paul, at first you feel like he's going to be an upcoming boxer, but at the same time too, I mean, you can just kind of tell. I mean, he gained weight, which was more than noticeable, and that's fine. You gain weight because sometimes you want, beef up a little bit before you have to go against someone like Mike Tyson. Then we heard throughout the bout, it was about Mike's legs and his legs weren't there and so on and so forth. So listen, who knows? We're going to keep hearing rumors and rumors and rumors. And if it is, everybody knows in boxing anyways, there's not a lot of people that really follow boxing anymore other than my hermano, Rich, because he does a lot of the amateur style boxing and professional bouts as well. So I don't think it's all amateur. But even he has spoken about before where not the fights that he has covered, but he's seen the other fighters in previous, bouts where it just seems like it's fixed. And it's a shame because I'm quite sure a lot of folks paid a lot of money. I'm quite certain a lot of folks traveled to Texas to go see Jerry's World and go out there and spend your hard-earned money. But in the end, was it worth spending all that money? But the time will tell. We'll figure it out. There was another story here too that I wanted to quickly talk about, even though some of these stories, sometimes they make sense. Other times it makes absolutely no sense. But this one kind of caught my eye too. This is from the Mirror. And listen, sometimes you got to think about when you go out there camping, but a man camping in the Amazon rainforest wakes up to find 10 million ants tearing apart the tent. The Amazon rainforest is home to some of the most unusual and in some cases dangerous on Earth that show little care or interest for humans who find themselves in their habitat. A man camping in the rainforest, the Amazon rainforest, shared, by the way, let me explain, folks, they're not, and I know it's a different generation sometimes that listen, not Amazon as the one who deliver your packages, Amazon as the actual Amazon forest where it rains, it's a jungle atmosphere, it's something not to deal with if you don't have to. But a man camping in the Amazon rainforest shared the moment when he was woken up by leaf cutter ants ripping apart his tent. Conservationist, Paul Rosalie was resting in the world's largest rainforest when a tiny insect woke him up from his slumber about 2 a.m. In a video uploaded to Reddit, Paul said he had been trying to sleep when the critters started tearing through his tent's fabric. There's about 10 million leaf cutter ants outside of his tent, and they're all doing is cutting leaf-sized holes out of my tent, he said. They are carrying away the nylon into the night, and because the leaf cutter ants are working to dismantle every single thing that I own, they're opening holes big enough to put my fist through. In the video, which can be seen here, which I don't know if I'm going to be able to play it or not, but if not, I'll find it later on. I'll play it for you guys. They could be seen scurrying about the tent, some gripping pieces of the nylon between their pinching fingers or the pincers due to their large holes being left in the tent by the leaf cutter ants. Antics. Paul said other things living in the Amazon were coming into my tent. So this, you go out there and everybody knows you go camping, you do whatever, it is what it is. Unfortunately, you're going to deal with stuff like that. Anybody who's ever, depending on where you go to, Florida, of course, you would have to deal with snakes, sometimes bears. Yes, bears, which I thought it was ironic moving down here because normally you associate bears up north because of the cool air and obviously with the ton of fur they have and the weight. Who would have thought that it would have had bears on this way? But there was also one more here that I want to get in front of you guys, which was apparently, again, from the Daily Mail that a child. You know what? Let me skip over that one for a second because there's one here about Mike Tyson. Let's see if I can pull that one from TMZ Sports. So Mike Tyson gets a peachy offer from the porn site to show off your tush again for $250,000. Mike Tyson scored a boatload of cash for his fight against Jake Paul, but he wants to add a bit more on top. All he's got to do now is show off his rump once more. A spokesperson for Cam Soda, a popular adult site. I associated that with that other soda drink. Okay, but whatever's. Tells TMZ Sports after Netflix viewers got a glimpse of Iron Mike's cheeks during an interview just ahead of his boxing match with Paul on Friday. Now they want him to flaunt his bare butt on their screens. Netflix done messed up the streaming. Mike Tyson kissed his son, followed by the camera showing his butt before trying to pan up. The site says it's willing to shell out $250,000 for the site, and all he's got to do is flash his derriere in a live webcam show for merely 1 hour. Now, Cam Soda VP Darren Parker said in an offered letter to the boxer, I understand this offer may be a far cry from what you just raked in from the fight, but let's face it, maybe it's time to hang up the gloves. I think this offer is a perfect way to still get in front of people and perform in a different, less strenuous way. Plus, you don't have to worry about biting or going after anyone's ears. All right, well, listen, again, he put it out there, and who knows? Whether he decides to do it or not, we don't know. I mean, everything's a toss-up. Anybody, sometimes they do stuff for money or whatever. But the one thing that kind of cracked me up too, which I thought, so after about, if you guys didn't get a chance to miss it, I'm pretty sure Netflix still has it up there. But Mike, for the rest of us, would look like he was reaching into his mouth. And a lot of us thought throughout the bout, it was his mouth guard. But then when he would go over to the side, when the round was done, you could see the trainer kind of struggling to take off the mouthpiece. Well, come to find out at the very end, the broadcaster was there, said to Mike, hey, by the way, was there something wrong with your mouthpiece? And Mike Tyson kind of paused, and then he said, no, it's just that I have a biting fixation. So all of us thought that he was just kind of messing around with his mouthpiece, only come to find out that he admitted that he still has some sort of biting finish. All righty. Rick M. says, what are your thoughts towards the Rays ownership possibly leaving St. Pete due to all the issues related to Milton? Listen, that's a good question. Joey B says, good morning, Penguin AZ, and good morning to Rick from Joey B. And pretty soon I'll bring up Joey B's comments here in a second, as he was on making comments here with Pete Shepard and myself. Okay, so the Rays. I don't know where the blame game for this one's going to end up being, because a couple of days ago, one of the Pinellas County officials was upset because the Rays decided to choose Steinbrenner Field in Tampa to be able to play at least the 2025 season out there in Tampa, which truthfully, that's where the team should have been in the first place. So he made that comment. Then yesterday, apparently, they didn't secure the bonds. Apparently, the Rays didn't secure the bonds needed to be able to fulfill the obligations to build this brand new stadium that should have been done by 2027, 2028. Now, apparently council got together yesterday and said, since you guys did not have enough to secure said bonds, we're putting the whole entire thing on hold, because the other portion of it they're saying is that Major League Baseball, they kind of skirting around this one, whether it's Major League Baseball or the Rays, said that they will not put any money towards the tourism money that everybody knows when you come to Florida. The money gets divided so that the tourists make a good portion of Florida tourism, so that can happen. But apparently, the Rays chose not to put that in there. They were like, listen, we hear you guys, we understand it, but we're probably not going to feed into it. And so they were upset because they were saying, here's two hurricanes that usually the Florida tourism tax dollars is part of, when they need repairs to certain places, they take away from that funding, which is spread out everywhere. So now the Rays are saying that, we're not going to pay into that. Whether this is a back and forth, which is starting to really kind of annoy me being here, even though I'm a Phillies fan, but because I do some coverage for the Rays as well. The one thing that just drives me bananas is who's telling the truth? Do the Rays really ownership don't want to be here anymore? Like they're just like, you know what, screw this, we're going to be out. Because they're also the situation where the roof ended up blowing off. And if you guys don't know, it's like paper mache up there. So they finally tore it down. They're starting to clean up inside the building, but they're discussing whether now, if they hold off from not funding the stadium, then basically what would happen is they would start making the necessary repairs so that the Rays can play there 2026, 2027, and 2028, which then still leaves everything up in the air, meaning that now are the Rays in a really sticky situation, because at this point, it's going to be one of those like, do we really want to move? Because you guys all, if you don't know, if you're not a Major League Baseball fan, Montreal has expressed interest about bringing the team back. Of course, the Expos used to be up there. They changed, became the Washington Nationals. That was controversial because of the name the Nationals decided to pick, which they weren't supposed to use. Then the Yankees, who decided to say, hey, listen, you guys are looking for a place. We can host it here. We can change things up. We can make it look like, an outdoor Rays venue, which I'm pretty sure a lot of Rays fans are going to be happy, especially in Tampa. They don't have to make the journey across the Howard Franklin Bridge. And some say Pete fans might end up coming over. Who knows? But you'll get now people from Lakeland, possibly up there from Orlando to come across the state. And, because it'll be a little bit closer. They don't have to deal with twice the amount of traffic. But I thought, and listen, you're welcome. I'm pretty sure someone's going to make a t-shirt out there. I figure since now the Yankees are playing host to the Rays, why don't you just change your names like they want to do with the Expos? Call yourself the Yays. YAYS. Why not? Because at this point, I don't know if the Rays really want to stay here. I mean, the owner wanted the team to play in Oakland, California, and the A's didn't want to stay there, which didn't make any sense. You're an East Coast team, but you wanted your entire season to be on the West Coast, which means that these guys would be struggling all season long because you would still have to make the travel trip across to the East Coast to make your way to the West Coast. You don't have a ton of West Coast games. So I don't know what the Rays are doing. I think it's going to be a blame game for both the city council. I also believe, too, the city council really don't want the Rays there. I think they want that Gaslight District to just be, more shopping, more hotels, more bars and venues, and St. Pete, I get it. Listen, they've gone completely upscale. I get it. I guess well-deserved that's what they've been looking for many years. You also have some residents that say, why don't they give back to the community to help us, kind of spruce up our homes a little bit, somewhat like Philly did, somewhat. And I use that term loosely. But again, what are you going to do? Do you believe the Rays? Do you believe Major League Baseball and Rob Manfred, that he chose to put this clause in there to basically tell, St. Pete, screw you, we're not going to deal with this. I don't know. It's just there's all these different conversations that are going to happen, that are going to have to take place. Who knows when the world's going to go on? Whether there's the truth that's going to come out, whether it's going to be one of those things that the Rays truthfully want to stay here, no one truly knows. But it's going to have to come down to it before the season starts because we already know only for one season they'll be playing at Steinbrenner Field. Past that, the Yankees didn't do any kind of other extension for them because obviously they want their house back. Now, the Rays won't play their full season until after spring training. They'll still be down south. Well, they'll do their spring training in the south, and then eventually they'll make their way back. That's just the way they are. But, at this point, I don't know. I just think council members, it is just a really mixed bag of stuff. And I don't know if the Rays truly want to be in St. Pete. Maybe they need to have the discussion once again with Mayor Dean and see if they can move to Ybor City. Something is going to have to give in order for them to hang around and stay in the Bay Area. That is going to be something spicy to see what's going to go on from there. Joey B says, we got bears in our hoods here in Colorado. They are looking for food before they get back to higher elevations to hibernate. Yeah, that's what I mean. I can't listen. Florida cracks me up with the Florida Bears, but it's like Florida, man. But nonetheless, Beeve says, my dude, LFG, what's up, Beeve? And then Joey B says, how much would Angel, Pete, and Q and Beeves take from Netflix show to their cheeks? Listen, no, that's not going to happen. That would not happen. There's no way in the world I'd be showing my cheeks out on Netflix for sure. No thanks. None of that. My wife wouldn't kill me nonetheless. All right. We're going to take our first commercial break. Can't believe how quickly the half hour went. We're going to take our first commercial break. When we come back, we're going to have Coach Hevia from the West Chapel Kings. He's going to be on with us. Nice announcement that's coming up here for the network. Also for the GBA. We'll find out the latest on the Wesley Chapel Kings. Have they found the new home? All the good fun stuff that we want to hear about what's going to happen. So we'll take our first commercial break here. Don't forget, you can call or text the show at 727-858-6650, 727-858-6650. You can also leave your comments on the social medias. You can also text into the show, as I just mentioned. And even afterwards, take a look at the website, sr1029thegame.com. There's been some major improvements, some things that shifted around, including all the live shows over on the Sports Radio tab. So if you have the app, which absolutely mirrors the website, and that's the way I wanted it designed, which I designed it myself, then you'll look for live shows under the Sports Radio tab. So you can download the app directly from the website. Therefore, you'll never miss a thing. If you're out on the road, you're out in the gym, wherever the case may be, you go from the live video over to the digital radio and then back to the live video. All right. With that being said, you are listening to Martinez Company live here on the Coastal Sports Network, brought to you by Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game. We'll be right back.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Anderson windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Anderson windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
What's up, Southwest Florida? Jimmy the Beef Guy here. Fort Myers, we answered your call. We're pumped to announce the opening of our second location. It's on 41 just north of the Edison Mall. And guys, nothing's changed here. The beef, the sausage, the breaded steak are Maxwell Polish. Now serving you in 2 locations, Fort Myers and Bonita Springs. And don't forget, if you're having a party, check out our catering menu.
Hey guys, when you're at the counter, don't call it Gardenia. It's pronounced Chardonnay.
Phil Castanetti, Sports World in Saugus, Massachusetts, is New England's place to buy or sell the finest in sports memorabilia. For over 35 years, Sports World has offered the finest in sports collectibles. Last month, you might remember Tim Thomas, legendary Bruins goalie, returned on October 5th. What a turnout it was. And now a new event coming up. On Saturday, November 30th, it's Willie O'Ree, yes, the original Jackie Robinson of the National Hockey League. He'll be signing autographs to the public, $25 each. There'll be photos, pucks, and cards available. Phone orders are welcome. Just call 781-233-7222 for more information. Sports World in Saugus. Be there. Hey, everybody, it's Pete Shepard from the Coastal Sports Network. Want to tell you about my good friend Lou DiMuzio and his company. Lou is the president and founder of Ace Technology Advisors. They're big-time tech specialists. At ATA, they're able to craft, implement, and manage the best and most appropriate solution for your business. They leverage their industry-leading experience and their portfolio of technology partners to improve your best practices and infrastructure. So you can get a hold of them at 888-599-4223. That's 888-599-4223. Check them out on their webpage, www.acetechadvisors.com. That's www.acetechadvisors.com. Or you can email them sales@acetechadvisors.com. Check out my friend Lou DiMuzio and Ace Technology Advisors.
Ion Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontp.com. Ion Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by Ion Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you.
You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
All right, class. Let's hear what everyone did this weekend. Jill?
Well, I raised my older sister to a big oak tree. It was at least 100 years old. My mom said I must have set a record or something. And then we went down by a stream and perched up on this huge rock and saw all of these little minnows swimming around way below us. And then I rescued my little brother from an evil slug king who was guarding him at the bush fortress. And my sister and I brought him back to our super twig fort for safety. And then we all laid out and told stories until it got dark. And the Big Dipper led us all the way home.
Wow. Awesome. Where were you, Jill?
Yeah. We went to the forest. It's not that far away. Anyone want to come this weekend?
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week and find the fun, adventurous you. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Download the Sports Radio 102.9 FM, the Game app, and tell your friends that Florida has a new leader in digital sports radio.
All right, welcome back to Martinez Company here, the bottom of the hour, 10:30, just about here on the east coast of the world here in the beautiful United States of America. Thank you all, and those who continue to serve our great nation. We never forget about you guys and girls out there. And speaking about serving, now we have with us back on our weekly segment. I know last weekend I'm missing some time only because it was a crazy week around here last week, but nonetheless, Coach Kia, JP, on with us from the Wesley Chapel Kings. Coach, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Angel. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Although, it's the weather. You're down this neck of the woods as well, down in Florida. But I see more sun your way than I do at my own studio window here because it's been a little cloudy, but we expected it nonetheless. But so last we spoke, we had talked about the Wesley Chapel Kings. You guys had tryouts coming up soon. I know there was one not related to you guys. There was another one that went on, I believe, this past weekend up in Jacksonville. But the Wesley Chapel Kings, you guys have, for those who missed it the last time you were on, you do have one that's up and coming, correct? In the next month?
That is correct.
And where you guys going to have your open practice at?
We will be having our tryout up in Wesley Chapel.
Ooh, so that should be, at least for me, that'd be a lot of fun because then we'll get to be reunited once again, at least before the season begins. And it's November. It seemed like when we talked about 2 weeks ago, and this is what we were saying, things come by quickly. And before we know it, it's going to be December. Everybody, at least down here in Florida, the time goes by like this because it's always warm. There's something to do. But now we look at it, we're getting closer where we're going to get to the time where the GBA is going to start announcing schedules and putting things together so people continue to follow along. We always want to make sure you guys follow it. I will have a link coming up soon. As soon as the website is completed for the GBA, then it will be along over on sr1029thegame.com. So they are starting to spruce it up, putting the last bells and whistles together there. But so this, we talked about the last time too, Coach. You have the Wesley Chapel Kings, new up and coming with the league here. And there will be other competition here in the area as well, right about just the time when you guys end up launching your team. For those who didn't hear, either the Tampa Bay Titans or with the TBL, they're going to be launching their squad in February. And so you guys can follow them as well on Instagram so you guys can see what's going on. All the other teams, as I said in the GBA, are starting to get their social medias together. Once that happens, I will release those to everyone as well. But so, Coach, it's got to be still a little bit on the nervous side because once again, not only did you have to put on your coaching hat, at the same time, you have to look on the business aspect and of things with you and the current owner of the Wesley Chapel Kings. So where have you guys gotten so far? Are we still looking for a home to play?
So we've narrowed it down to 2 facilities.
Okay.
We'll be announcing that in the next 2 weeks or so. Finalizing the documentation, really trying to figure out which one works best for our organization and our team. And from the business side of it, I mean, we've got some exciting news coming. It will be helping our players and our organization tremendously. Like we had mentioned before, we're really focused on the developmental side of these players and helping them grow their careers with the Wesley Chapel Kings and also whatever other leagues they want to go play in. So we've struck a deal with the company where it's going to really help maximize the exposure and really build the brand for the Wesley Chapel Kings and the players that play for the Wesley Chapel Kings. So we're excited about that, and we'll be announcing that shortly as well.
That's awesome because that's what it's all about, right? We mentioned before, it always comes down to networking, the people that you work with, and you try never to burn a bridge as much as possible because people, listen, everybody's always not going to have peaches and cream all the time. We know this. When you're in a business, whether you're, broadcasting, whether you're on the radio, digital marketing media, no matter what it is, you always hope to land with that one person and things will go well. But sometimes things develop and people just want to go their separate ways. But this should be something good because not only with that, is that we had mentioned before, and for those who are listening here for the first time with Coach, the kid aspect of it, when the kids come, they're really going to have like a motivation to be able to say, you know what, if these guys are in a pro league, we can do the same exact thing. So I want you to go back for those who missed out on the last time, what you guys and the GBA are going to do with today's youth.
Yeah, so one of the biggest things that the GBA is promoting within itself and encouraging all the teams or mandating all the teams to do is really have a youth development program. So that youth development program is not just on the court having, a youth team, but also having not players, youth, students that shadow other positions within the organization. So as a coach and general manager, I will have two shadowees that are going to follow me and really learn the business of basketball from a professional level at a young age. We're in a couple conversations now with some schools in Pinellas and Hillsborough County where we want to be able to pull those students from and really help them develop. Like we had mentioned before, Angel, it's bigger than basketball. And we just want to make sure that these young men, young women, and everybody within the Wesley Chapel Kings organization are developing and really building a skill set for when that basketball stops bouncing for them at any time, they're able to fall back on other skills and still stay within the professional realm of basketball and professional sports in general.
Yeah, because again, this is what the kids need. They need an outlet, especially if you can provide one on the hard courts, even better. Because everybody, as it starts out as kids, we're very competitive. We always talk about we play, whether you play in your neighborhood or you end up playing for a team. You always dream about that moment, like, oh, I'm going to have that winning shot. I'm going to have that winning home run. I'm going to have the winning touchdown. And then you play video games to go along with it, which then boosts kind of your ego a little bit because you're like, if I can do it in a video game, I can do it in real life. Two different things. So I don't want people to think one or the other. But, it's what we do because we all, as kids, we always talk about that. 1 minute we say we want to be like a police officer, a fireman, a doctor, something else. And then things change. Just like kids love, 1 year, they might love giraffes. The next year, they love dinosaurs. The next thing, they love something else. But it's good when you guys are connecting with them because that's what brings the kids back to those teams. And what brings them back into the community because then they go back and they say, hey, do you know the Wesley Chapel Kings do this prior to their games? And that's the beautiful part about it because the connection that you guys are going to build is going to be tremendous. And that's a lot of fun, especially for a lot of kids here and at different ethnicities because they all want to have a place where they can come, they can hang out with their friends, watch you guys play. And of course, what we want most important is to make sure that, you patronize the team by, if it's hot dog, Coke, whatever is available so that the team can continue to flourish and do bigger things. But speaking of announcements as well, which I'm quite certain we can probably say it now at this point because it's been other than signed, sealed, and delivered, but we're waiting for FedEx to be able to do that. But no, I said it in tongue in cheek, but it's a nice announcement. I don't know if you want to do it, I'd be honored. I guess if you do it, what's going to happen here between the GBA and the Sports Network?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, for everybody watching, we had a great meeting about 2 weeks ago, and I believe the GBA has officially made Martinez and Company, Broad Street South, Angel Martinez, the network, the official network for the GBA for broadcasting and radio. So it's fantastic news. I think that we have a lot of things going, and it should be real fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and thanks to you, coach, and thanks to GBA for that. I mean, I was excited just being on the phone about that as well. So as I do many things behind the scenes, that was a fun conversation because I think we're probably supposed to have like a 2-minute conversation. Turned out to be about 20 minutes, but it was fun though
Yeah.
because we got to joke around, and I'm really honored to be in the home network for sure for a GBA and all the games. So you guys, as the schedule comes out, we'll share with everyone, and then you'll find out the game of the week, which one will be on the radio, and then the other ones will be broadcasted as well. So make sure you stay tuned for that. I am completely blown away and honored by it. Coach, you know it. I sent you a message even after the meeting was over, which I
Yeah.
was just completely thrilled. And it is a huge honor here for the network because again, we for everything that we cover around here, especially here locally in Florida, it's just nice to kind of expand the roots a little bit more. And hopefully upon that, will end up being some travel where I can go see the different teams at the location and then find out how everybody's doing, the broadcast, make sure everybody is fine. So it's just, I'm so looking forward to it come next year. I'm mostly, in all honesty, looking forward to not only just the tryouts, the actual draft. Like that's, to
Yeah.
me, that's going to be so much fun because for you, especially as a coach, for me, this side of the house, as far as media and broadcasting, watching these athletes come and speak to you guys and then the expectation level. And I think for a lot of people too, like there's leagues that are out there, don't get me wrong. Everybody's got pickup leagues. Everybody has little pro leagues and everything else. When you're talking about someone like the GBA, where the expectations are going to be a little bit higher, no different like the ABA and the TBL and stuff, but with the GBA, when you guys are looking for people to come into that draft room, it's not one of those things like, hey, I'm just here to try out and I'm hoping to make it and I'm only going to get 50%. You have to bring your game. You have to bring not only that, but make sure you sell yourself to the team because again, it's ultimately up to you, up to the owner of the team as well. What you guys are going to seem to be a good fit. And in the hopes that these guys are able to play elsewhere, like this is, another step for them to be able to play, somewhere else. Or for that matter, if they want to become seasonal with the GBA, I'm pretty sure no
Yep.
one's going to have a problem when you have an excellent team to come back for West Chapel Kings
Yep.
because I already threw it out there that you guys will be the first ones to win a championship. So that's a lot of weight on the shoulders I'm putting on you
Yeah.
there, Coach.
Just a
So
little, just a little.
yeah, but it's nice. Listen, I'm looking forward to it because I think it's gonna be great. You guys are gonna do an excellent job, I believe. I think draft night, even draft weekend, is gonna be a lot of fun because again, people. I wish I can explain to folks when you get a phone call from the team and for the guys who are going to be there themselves,
Yeah.
it is a big deal. I don't think a lot of people understand that. And when you get drafted by a team, and even if you're a standby, so let's just say you pick up your roster, and you guys know some guys sometimes get looked at by another team, maybe by the NBL overseas, and which is good because that's what you want. They see a spark within a player, and they figured, listen, let me offer him a contract, see what I can do there. But I think for a lot of these guys, the inaugural season for the Wesley Chapel Kings, the expectations for them and the community are going to be extremely big. So how much involvement are you going to try to have? Because I know it's going to be tight. You guys have a lot of practice. There's going to be a lot of stuff involved. But how much involvement are you guys planning on have between the athletes and the community?
So, Angel, like we spoke last time, we want to be more than just a basketball team. We want to be pillars of the community. We want to build relationships and we want to fit whatever needs that there are in the community. So, as much as we want to focus on winning basketball games, winning a championship, everything in between, our mission stays the same. It's mostly, hey, we are Wesley Chapel, the greater Tampa area's team. How do we get involved and how do we fulfill those needs and those voids within the community? One of the big things is, like we spoke about before, the shadowing program. And it goes back to what you had mentioned about building these rosters out through drafts and so on. We want to make sure that we have the right guys that understand our mission. Get out in the community, mentor young people, and help them prepare for life. So as basketball players, they're going to be the guys that are viewed the most within the organization by the community, by these youth students. So we want to make sure we bring in the right guys that understand our mission and want to help build the brand of the GBA and the Wesley Chapel Kings.
Yeah, it's going to be, like I said, community involvement, especially here in the Tampa region. Since I've been down here for the last 5 years plus now, I mean that's big. Anytime they get involved, and especially when you're talking about, because in Philly it was the same way. The Eagles, I will say this much: beyond the Sixers and the Flyers and stuff from back home, when the Eagles were getting ready to be in a community, you could not miss it because people would, whether it's painting a school building, painting a house, or helping rebuild a house, the community turnout was so good because they really connect with the community. It's not, they're nothing against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but it's a complete different scenario. I don't see the Bucs as much out in the community as I would see with the Eagles, and that could change. Who knows? I don't, I'm just saying, I'm not throwing any shade towards the Bucs, but I would love to, like, even during the Gasparilla parade, my wife and I talk about this all the time. Like, it would be nice to see, like, the guys are off for the most part when it's done. And usually Gasparilla is even after the Super Bowl. I think it's only the once they did it before the Super Bowl, but you bring your team out there. So, and you don't have to have like a super fancy float. Let's just get a trailer, pull them out there, put, a couple little Buck signs. But the whole idea is because you're connected with the community. And who knows, maybe this year we'll see the Western Chapter. Maybe not this year because the team won't be all together, but maybe next year for Gasparilla, who knows? Maybe the Kings will make an appearance there. Therefore, everybody gets to know who you guys are. So I'm really, again, excited for the season. I'm excited for the GBA as a league in general. I think it's going to be really exciting to see what's going to happen, but I'm going to now switch gears because we're going to go over to the NBA side for a moment because Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid, some people said it was taken out of proportion. Some people feel like, well, maybe Maxey called him out because he's always late. And I mentioned this to Pete earlier when Allen Iverson was coming towards an end in Philly before he went over to Denver. It was kind of somewhat the same where I don't want to say he gave up completely, but you can start seeing the disconnect in between the both of them. But I want to bring up two different videos, and I want to get your take on this as well, because one is from Pat McAfee, and another one by Running Back. This is where it becomes a tale of two different tales. So I'm going to play the videos first, and then we'll get the input as far as what we believe. Again, what's truth, what's fiction, and how people actually feel about this. So this first one's from Pat McAfee. It talks about the last night the Sixers had a meeting, and I was told that Tyrese Maxey challenged Joel Embiid. Now, this could be taken two different ways, but I'm going to play this first for everyone and for us here. Therefore, people can see and they can follow along. So here's Pat McAfee's take first. Hang on. Let me get the filing them up before I forget. Now we can play it.
You gave an example. You said, like, something happens last night, then I dig up a bunch of stuff. What is that particular news that you're chatting about, and is it reportable?
Yeah, I literally just put it out as soon as Joe Douglas was getting fired. So it happened in simultaneous moment. But last night, the 76ers had a team meeting. This is a team that's 2-11. They're in a free fall right now. Obviously, when you get Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid, Paul George together, a 2-11 start, this isn't what you're expecting. And last night, they had an hour-and-a-half long team meeting in that post-game locker room in Miami. And I think a lot was said, a lot was accepted, a lot was aired out. Coaches saying we need players to practice harder, show more attention to detail. Players saying we need to be coached harder. We want to be coached harder. But most notable of all that, Pat, I was told Tyrese Maxey, the 24-year-old young star, he challenged Joel Embiid, the face of the franchise, the former league MVP, that we need you to be on time for team activities. And saying that there's a trickle-down effect. When you are missing, when you are tardy, when you are late for what I was told everything was the line, it has an effect on the rest of the locker room, the rest of the players, the coaching staff. And yesterday, Joel Embiid was listed doubtful most of the day. Teammates, coaches, no one really heard from him. And then he shows up at warm-ups, plays in the game. They had a double-digit lead, great lead in the first half, completely 180 flip in the second half. And from what I'm told, it was kind of like this. Big fella is someone that Tyrese Maxey loves, but this was the elephant in the room, and Tyrese Maxey addressed it. They're very close. They're very close friends. They hold each other accountable. But last night, Tyrese Maxey delivered a message to Joel Embiid that I think a lot of people saw coming for a really long time in Philadelphia. And now they go from here on what are the action steps. What will Joel Embiid look like when the team plays in Memphis on Wednesday? What will he hone in on the message that was given to him and really put that into action over the next week or so. We're about to find out. But the fact that Tyrese Maxey, their young leader, is the one that stepped up with this, he's not going to just speak out for nothing.
I love that from Tyrese Maxey. And obviously, if the rest of the team felt that same way in the meeting, they would have said either yes or no to his messaging to Joel Embiid. Paul George obviously just got there, probably didn't feel as if he's the right guy yet in that locker room to talk about anything happening, especially with how bad the start of the year has been with him being on the team. So Tyrese Maxey just got paid, though, didn't he, right?
Yeah, he got a max.
He just got paid. So he is a guy that is expected to show up for that team. So him looking at Olympic gold medalist Joel and saying, like, hey, we need you not to be late. And Joel asked back for what? And then the team goes, everything.
All the
That's maybe a nice, like, wake-up moment.
That's huge.
That's maybe a nice wake-up moment. And that's good leadership out of Tyrese Maxey. But also, conflict. Big Mike McCarthy used to say to the Green Bay Packers team, conflict's a good thing, because when people are wondering what people are thinking, now they know what people are thinking, and you can potentially move on.
Yeah, so that's the first one, Coach. So before I get to the next one here, I'm going to bring it back to us here for a second. But so that's dealing with it as a head coach. And when I play the second one, because again, there's two different tales of this, and we'll see which one makes sense, which one doesn't, because the other one's going to be brought to you by Run It Back, which they say they ended up on the phone with the 76ers, and they feel like, by all accounts, things are different. But before we play the second one, you being a head coach, and if you got a guy, and he could be your star player. Let's say you guys are now your fifth year in the league. This guy's been your star player for the last 4 seasons. Does that give that player the individual right to say, hey, listen, coach, I know you want me here by, 7:00, but listen, I was just here by 7:02. How much of that accountability not only goes off of you, it goes off the ownership and then off the rest of the team?
So, former MVP, star player, face of the league. If you're only trying to sell tickets, you're going to let that slide because he puts butts in the seats. Let's just call it what it is. But from a coach's perspective, front office perspective, the Sixers have a goal, and that's to bring a championship to the city of Philadelphia. And you can't do that if you have players pulling in the wrong direction. I think Tyrese Maxey was right for calling him out. He's the best player on the team. Everybody's going to follow his lead. Now, if he comes in 20 minutes late, an hour late, other guys are going to say the same thing because, truthfully, practice doesn't really start until he gets there. Right. You're game planning. You're going through your walkthrough. You're trying to figure out, how do I get Joel Embiid 12 to 15 points easy? So your game plan, your strategies, your practice doesn't really start until he gets there. So I agree with Tyrese Maxey, the rest of the Sixers organization, for calling him out. And I think big fella just needs to get his head on right. I mean, they were close the last couple of years. They keep falling short in the playoffs, but they have a great team around him now. They picked up Caleb Martin, Paul George. Tyrese Maxey's playing like an all-star this year before he got hurt. So if he gets on board and starts doing what he's supposed to do, I think they can go very far and, contend with the Celtics, the Knicks, and all the big powers in the East.
I've been saying it now for a while. It drives me bananas because you knew you wanted to be on the Olympic team. I get it. It's a dream for everyone. If you're an athlete, that's ultimately just like winning a championship for your own team. But, winning gold, it's big bragging rights. It's something that you showcase the world. I mean, that's literally an actual world championship when you win that medal. Yep. But you can't turn around and tell the same people of Philly, I brought you back a gold medal because it's not for Philly. It was for Joel Embiid, representing himself and then representing the Sixers. But then you tell us that, I lost weight so I can get more flexible. I'm not harsh on my knees and everything else. But then you decide to pull back and say, well, I'm only going to play every third day. Or, Paul George is banged up too, so I'm going to sit out. And like you said, the walkthrough, it's important because if he's not there, what are you going to do? Then if you decide to go ahead and start your walkthrough, you start practice, and then 15 minutes, now you decide to show up, now you have to change things up. And that's why I want to get your perspective there as well. But I want to play this other one again, because it seems like two different tales. So who's saying what? And I'm pretty sure the story's not going to go away because it's not. But here's the second take on that same situation.
I think
When I say I love it, I love the idea that like a fire has been lit and it's coming from a young leader in the locker room. Maybe that's what I meant, but the getting out of it all is always fascinating to me. As a team, do you look around, Lou? Like if something gets out, are you guys like somebody in here is a rat? Like how does it work?
Absolutely. You look at everybody. When you have these meetings, when you have these closed door meetings, usually it's the coaching staff and it's the players, and everybody is kind of getting things off of their chest. And, whether it's somebody that gets on the phone and gossips with their homeboys or their wife or something, and, those people are considered sources, and, they have the relationships with the Shams of the world and they leak information. That's how these things get out. Listen, it's like anywhere else. If you hear some juicy gossip, you want to tell somebody what you heard. You want to let somebody in on an experience, and sometimes that creates leaks within your organization and your locker room when you're having these conversations. And coincidentally, I can give you guys an inside scoop on this thing because one way or another, I ended up on the phone with a few of the guys from the 76ers, and by all accounts, this was kind of blown out of proportion. The idea of Tyrese calling Joel out and how it's been portrayed in the media as one of these type of blow up things. From my understanding, they just had a conversation on accountability, just keeping everybody in check. And sometimes you got to have that as a team, just making sure we all on the same page. Hey, bro, we understand you're not going to play in these games, but, team meetings and all of that, it's important for you to be there. It's important for you to be there on time. So from my understanding, that was the nature of the conversation. That was the context of a conversation. It wasn't as much of Tyrese Maxey challenging Joel Embiid as has been stated. It wasn't a conversation about accountability. By all accounts, those guys are doing just fine. They were sitting next to each other when we were on the phone, laughing and giggling and having a good time and trying to get this team back on the same page. And so that, from what I understand, that was the context of the conversation, not as much of the negative stuff that's trying to come out at this point.
So again, Coach, now it's like, right, it's like the tale of two different tales. One part of the media is trying to say that, oh no, you guys are blowing this thing way out of proportion, blah, blah, blah. This, and then you have the other part of media said that he was called out. No matter what, even if he was called out, this is where then you start getting people that should be on that same level. And one feels like he's up here, the other one feels like he's down here. And now you got to bring him back to here. Nonetheless, it should be. And a lot of this is because everybody wants to be first to tell the story, but it should also be too that if Tyrese had said something, Joel, even if it was just, hey, can I talk to you for a second? If you're saying it low enough where no one can hear it, nobody makes a big deal about it. Mm-hmm. But even if he raised his voice just to get Joel's attention, says, hey, Joel, you got a minute, bro? Now it becomes the exaggerated story, right? Because it would be the same way. If you're on the sideline and I want to talk to you at the half, when everybody's heading out to the locker room and I yell out, coach, but at the top of my lungs, people go, oh, what's going on there? And then everybody's going to make up their own little story. Versus if I run down, depending on where we are, I run down, let's say the bleacher steps from the broadcast booth and hey, coach, don't forget, we got to talk right before we get to the half. Then it becomes two different things. So I can understand like they saying that, oh, well, maybe it's a little bit too much. Nonetheless, Tyrese should call out Joel Embiid, not on a major stage, but just say, hey, bro, listen, we're all here. We're a team. Coach Nurse is trying to get us to where we need to be. Every year we come up short. Year after year we hear about trust in the process. He hasn't said it much this year. Then there was the excuse about James Harden, about he didn't want to play when Joel Embiid came back. So is this a lot to make to do about nothing? Or is Tyrese right as far as calling him out, just not letting everybody know that he called him out?
No, I think Tyrese did it in a manner that was acceptable, just from the simple fact that it was supposed to be a closed team meeting. So in situations like those, the coaching staff, the players, people that are involved in the day-to-day really get to air out what their issues are with everybody. I mean, it's not an attack. It's pretty normal in professional sports, college sports, to just, when things aren't going right, hey, let's talk about it. Let's figure out where we're at and figure out what we can do to be better. So Tyrese felt that it was, his responsibility to hold big fella accountable. And it shouldn't have gotten out. There's been plenty of meetings in the past, and there'll be plenty of meetings in the future with professional teams and college teams, high school teams, so on and so forth, where you'll never hear about things. But like Lou Williams said, somebody leaked it out. word got out, and now the media is really amplifying the negativity of it, which in reality there isn't. I expect the 76ers to turn the ship around. They're 2-11 right now. I believe them. I believe once Joel Embiid gets his feet underneath him, they're going to turn things around. They'll probably rally about 6-7 straight, and they'll probably be a top 4 team in the East. So I think it's a lot about nothing, but I do appreciate a young professional keeping Joel Embiid accountable.
I would have to agree, because you have to, no matter what, I mean, you're getting paid millions, no different than what Joel is at this point, because Tyrese just got his extension as well. So you have to, every once in a while, you got to do it, because other than that, if everybody just keeps doing whatever they're doing, you're not a team anymore. Now you're just a bunch of individuals. And that's the reason why you became part of a team, because you were an individual that got showcased somewhere. And finally, someone saw you enough to say you went now from an individual athlete to now the athlete to now the professional athlete. And every level comes with responsibility and accountability. So, but Coach, listen, thank you once again. I appreciate your time. See, people think that Coach Evia comes on here just to talk to me about the Wesley Chapel Kings, and we do, but we're also going to throw in some other stories in there as well. Last week or 2 weeks ago, we mentioned about football. We brought it back to basketball. So who knows? When Coach comes on, everything and anything is on the table, so you guys can see how different side of Coach. But the other thing too, Coach, I want just so you can give your wife a heads up. You know how they do usually they'll have like the lights off in the room, and then the camera guy is there. No one knows he's there, and he watches you wake up and goes through a routine. Just let your wife know I'll be doing that just from the outside of the bedroom door. When we get ready to start showing stuff, I'm like, here comes Coach. Here comes the no more start to his day. But no, listen, I said it in jest, but
She's watching right now, so she just heard you.
Oh, good. Good, right? So she'll know. I'll be standing outside the door there. So when you wake up in the morning, we'll just go through a normal routine until we get over to the practice facility. So no, listen, I appreciate you guys. Appreciate your wife. It's going to be great when you guys finally are in the community area. It's going to be a lot of fun to hang out and do stuff together. So Coach, as always, thanks to you. Thanks to your wife and your family. I do appreciate your time. And I'm quite sure we'll be back here come next week again.
Absolutely, Angel. And guess one more thing before I go. If the Cowboys lose the next game by 20 plus, I'm going to need that Tampa Bay Bucks fan application because I can't take it anymore.
It's bad. It's bad.
It's bad.
You listen, brought up a good point. I can extend because I know I have Vanya coming up here in the next a little bit here past the top of the hour. But so Pete brought up a good point where he talks about Jerry Jones, and Jerry Jones is now starting to sound like he's just lost. Like, it's different when you have a conversation. You could be, I always like to call it like ear hustling, right? Because you and I could be having a conversation, but we know we hear this conversation over here. Yep. And so that right ear to left ear hears what's going on over there. And then you might screw up like one little time, and I could be talking about whatever. Hey, Coach, what about the travel trip that we're going to Texas? Wait, what was that? I'm sorry, Coach. And so what was the thing about Texas? So then you have Jerry Jones that continues to come on different shows. And it's like, what are you talking about? We're completely lost. And yet Dallas has become quite the embarrassment, not even to the point where they have no idea if they want to. They keep saying trade Mika, keep Mika. Should we get rid of Dak Prescott? He's injured, so no offense to Dak Prescott. I mean, you can't unless you're going to add really insult to the injury by trading him away while he's injured. That's the whole thing. But I'll make sure I'll get the application ready for you because
appreciate it.
I said the same thing about the Eagles, so don't worry. It's sitting right here on the desk. I'll make sure I get it out to you.
Sounds great. You can fax it, FedEx, whatever. I'll get it filled out if we don't win next week.
All right. Sounds good, Coach. All right. Thank you once again. I appreciate Coach, as always, to come on with us for a couple of minutes. And don't forget, coming up right after a commercial break here, you guys have not seen the show. And if you have seen the show, you're going to enjoy it before the 90 days from TLC. I had Misha Johnson on about 6 months ago. We had a great time with Misha. Of course, she's from Minnesota by way of Philadelphia when she was out there with CBS 3. And now we're going to have Vanya on. And Vanya is just a bowl of tons of energy. So she will be on with us here after the break. So we'll take our next one here. It is about, 5 after here on the East Coast. We appreciate you guys always tuning in. Make your comments. Text it into the show at 727-858-6650. 727-858-6650. Don't forget, start off the morning with the Pete Shepard Show from 7 to 10 a.m., Monday through Friday. Myself, Angel Martinez here, Martinez Company, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 10 to 12. The Drive with Q, normally also Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. but because he's been heavily involved with boxing, it's been down to Mondays and Fridays from 5 to 6. Eventually, it will get back to normal schedule. Of course, Beef's World, Mondays and Wednesdays from 6 to 8 p.m. And then Monday nights, Lloyd Vance Insider Football. If you guys missed it, you can go back and watch it on sr1029thegame.com. And tonight, normally we'll be talking hoops. That will be moved over to tomorrow night, so you guys can catch the crew, Coach Mack, Coach Johnson, Ron Briscoe, talking hoops tomorrow night at 8 p.m. All right, let's take our next commercial break. We appreciate everyone. As always, don't forget, visit a website. You can download the app and check out the content that is always moving around to make it easier for you guys to navigate, and especially check out the USF content. The ladies are back on the hardcourt tonight at 7 o'clock at the England Center. If you have not purchased your tickets, you live here locally in the Tampa Bay area, please support the USF women's basketball team. Okay, after that, we'll come back with Vanya. You're listening to Martinez Company here live on the Coastal Sports Network.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Anderson windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Anderson windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
What's up, Southwest Florida? Jimmy the Beef Guy here. Fort Myers, we answered your call. We're pumped to announce the opening of our second location. It's on 41 just north of the Edison Mall. And guys, nothing's changed here. The beef, the sausage, the breaded steak, our Maxwell Polish. Now serving you in 2 locations, Fort Myers and Bonita Springs. And don't forget, if you're having a party, check out our catering menu. Hey guys, when you're at the counter, don't call it gardenia. It's pronounced Chardonnay.
Phil Castanetti Sports World in Saugus, Massachusetts is New England's place to buy or sell the finest in sports memorabilia. For over 35 years, Sports World has offered the finest in sports collectibles. Last month, you might remember Tim Thomas, legendary Bruins goalie, returned on October 5th. What a turnout it was. And now a new event coming up. On Saturday, November 30th, it's Willie O'Ree, yes, the original Jackie Robinson of the National Hockey League. He'll be signing autographs to the public, $25 each. There'll be photos, pucks, and cards available. Phone orders are welcome. Just call 781-233-7222 for more information. Sports World in Saugus. Be there. Hey, everybody. It's Pete Shepard from the Coastal Sports Network. Want to tell you about my good friend Lou DiMuzio and his company. Lou is the president and founder of Ace Technology Advisors. They're big-time tech specialists. At ATA, they're able to craft, implement, and manage the best and most appropriate solution for your business. They leverage their industry-leading experience and their portfolio of technology partners to improve your best practices and infrastructure. So you can get a hold of them at 888-599-4223. That's 888-599-4223. Check them out on their webpage, www.acetechadvisors.com. That's www.acetechadvisors.com. Or you can email them sales@acetechadvisors.com. Check out my friend Lou DiMuzio and Ace Technology Advisors.
Ion Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontb.com. Ion Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by Ion Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you.
You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
All right, class. Let's hear what everyone did this weekend. Jill?
Well, I raised my older sister to a big oak tree. It was at least 100 years old. My mom said I must have set a record or something. And then we went down by a stream and perched up on this huge rock and saw all of these little minnows swimming around way below us. And then I rescued my little brother from an evil slug king who was guarding him in the bush fortress. And my sister and I brought him back to our super twig fort for safety. And then we all laid out and told stories until it got dark. And the Big Dipper led us all the way home.
Wow. Awesome. Where were you, Jill?
Yeah. We went to the forest. It's not that far away. Anyone want to come this weekend?
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week and find the fun, adventurous you. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
2.9 FM, the Game app. And tell your friends that Florida has a new leader in digital sports radio.
Jay Warner, Tom Boxer, Morena, let's go. You will make me fall deep in love, far away. You will make me fall deep in love, far away. Hey, there's nothing in this world that can take me from my girl. I got a heart screaming, oh, I could be falling for lust, but that ain't good enough. Baby, I'm falling for love, I'm falling in love. Let's go.
All right, welcome back. It is Angel here at Martinez Company. And when you have certain people on, there's certain type of music that you have to come back to. Even if Facebook or YouTube decides to say you can't be playing that, I can play whatever I want to because it is my network. So I can do whatever I feel like. But you have to bring the energy because my next guest, if you guys don't know, maybe because you're living under a rock, maybe because you have not seen her, maybe you have not heard of her, but nonetheless, it is Vanya from 90 Day Fiance from the TLC network. First of all, thank you, Vanya, so much for joining me today. I do appreciate your time, especially your positive vibes.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm so excited about this. Let's do it.
Yeah, listen, I said to your producer before you came on that, you know, the one thing about life is that we have to enjoy ourselves. And I also told her too that you owe everybody like 2 dance moves, which the reason why I say is because you're also a belly dancer on top of every other thing that you do. I mean, you used to do professional permanent makeup, unless you're still doing it now. You're also a vegan baker, which to me, that's really interesting because not every vegan person can actually bake well. And it's because everybody tries to dip their hands a little bit into everything. So not everybody can do it. Same with like a regular baker. Sometimes you get it right the first time. Other times you keep learning until you get better. And then, of course, from apparently from your good history is being a good sales rep, a medical sales rep. So you balance so many different things in your life. And I'm even surprised that you make time for yourself to be able to do all this stuff. So just, I guess to start off, what's a normal kind of startup day for you before you get into all these different parts of your life?
Oh my goodness. Well, it all starts with makeup. Okay. I live by my calendar. So my life is completely scheduled out, sometimes to a minute. So if something, God forbid, happened to my phone and my calendar died on me, I feel like I would be just totally lost.
Don't feel that yet.
It's a juggling act. You have to get really good at balancing everything. And unfortunately, sometimes, if one domino falls, it affects the rest of the day. But I've gotten pretty good at that. It's pretty much of a smooth ride across the board.
What's interesting is that before, like we used to memorize numbers. Now, of course, I grew up before everything came out. That's show people your age all the time. But so I grew up before the internet came out. I grew up before cell phones. So anytime if someone handed you a number, it's like that memory Rolodex in your head. You had to remember. Now my phone, if I don't have it with me, it's the same with like why don't you call so-and-so? I'm like, what's their number? So it's different. It's completely different how we're attached to like certain things. Even with the computers, it's been the same exact way. But, looking at, I was being you're an Orlando native, but prior to being here in Florida, you came from Yugoslavia, which Yugoslavia doesn't even exist anymore. It's like there's so many different parts and elements to it. And it's amazing to me how you go from an old school country that a lot of people loved when they resided there to then take that away from the people just because everything is fought for land, which to me, it doesn't make any sense. And then at the same time too, then you have wartime, which nobody wants wartime because you as a child, which you got the experience, not that you wanted to, but you experience wartime. And then in the process of losing your country, then you also have to be relocated as well. So I know you've probably talked about it before. And I know you've mentioned too that because of things that have happened in your life, you've made the choices that you've made now, at the ripe age of 21, which those that don't know, she's turning 22 tomorrow. But at the age of 21 here, I want you to explain to folks that what it means. Like people here in the U.S., I think a lot of folks don't understand is when you come from a war-torn background and then you have to take life and flip it to make it positive. I want you to kind of explain to folks what you went through that process as a child and then swinging as an adult to be able to say, you know what, I am going to change things, even though life dealt me the hands that it dealt me.
Yeah, I mean, this could be a whole book written on this. So, in my particular situation, war was starting at different times across different locations. But for me, it started on the last day of my fourth grade, and I unfortunately had a cousin who lived in Switzerland and died in a car accident. So we went to see my grandparents in the village to just see all the people who were coming to pay their respects. And we were getting ready to go back home. And we were never able to go back home because there were missiles firing across the city. And we didn't even have a change of clothes. We didn't have our documents, pictures, anything. So that's the day when, my life changed forever. And at that point, it's like, what do? You have to figure out, how to continue your life going forward. So between 5th and 8th grade, I changed schools 13 times. So
Wow.
we were always moving. I was always the new kid in the class, always the one made fun of. It was a very difficult thing adjusting. And we didn't have the basic human needs met. We didn't have electricity. We didn't have water. We didn't have food. Like, what I mentioned previously, we would take flour and onions and boil that to eat. We called it the black soup. And sometimes that was what we had to eat for months. And, as a child, you are forced to grow up overnight. Because you are unfortunately faced with these adult problems. And when you hear missiles exploding around you and air raids sirens going off, you can't help to but lose your innocence, right? Because you're every day you're thinking, is today going to be the day that I die? And that's a really crappy way to grow up. And I remember I was trying whichever way I could to help my family survive. I got a job as a child. I was, I think at that time, 13 years old. I worked on a plantation from sun up to sundown. I was cutting the onion seeds on top of onion stalks. And I would come home smelling like an onion all day, every day. I even started selling little trinkets on the street. I would sell hair scrunchies, sunflower seeds, anything to help make some money. I would go to a refugee center, where that was overcrowded, so we couldn't even stay there. But I would go until everybody was finished eating, and I would scrape up whatever was left on the bottom of the dishes there, and then take it home so that we have something to eat. So that was my life before coming here. And then we came here. It was 5 of us. We had $200 in our pocket. We had an apartment that was paid for us for 1 month. We had weeks worth of groceries. We had a coffee table and a mattress. And that's how we started. And my brother was only 2 years old, so he was a little toddler. So, I actually ended up getting a job. My parents had jobs as a cleaning crew in some restaurants. And, my dad was an engineer. My mom was a guidance counselor. But, that doesn't matter. When you're trying to survive, you're doing anything that it takes. So I would go and clean these restaurants with my parents until 2:00 in the morning. I would come home, sleep for 4 hours. I would take my brother on a steering wheel of a bicycle to the daycare center, drop him off, come back home, get on the bus, go to school, come back, pick up my brother, and do my homework, and then everything repeats all over again. So that was my first years of living here in the States.
That's crazy to me, because that's where a lot of people don't understand. If people have never traveled overseas, but there's a lot of folks, right? They go to Europe, they go overseas because they want to see what's out there. Mm-hmm. It's different when you're going as a tourist versus if someone took a bus here and they said, listen, you are going to experience for the next 30 days how people that come here to America have experienced life as either an adult or as a child. I think for a lot of people who like to sometimes complain about things that they have, if they went and saw how the other side of the world lives, you'll be more thankful and grateful for what you have, because it's the same way. Like I was in the military, so when I went to Haiti, I went to Bosnia. When I went to these different places, it's different because you look at the folks and you'll meet a lot of good people, a lot of happy people, but then you have people too that their whole goal is to make you feel bad. And so if people really took a step back to see like how you described it through your eyes and what you had to do, because truthfully, from what you were just telling me now, you were literally a miniature adult that had to become from basically your teens, your preteens, to becoming a full-size adult, and then having the ability to do that again when you're actually were of age. So, it's got to be, but I'm trying to find the right word, but I know it's got to be tough though, because not only obviously being one of 5 siblings, you being
3 of us.
3?
Yeah,
Right.
parents
So,
and the 3 siblings. Yeah,
who's the oldest?
I'm the oldest.
Okay. So it's like, and the reason why I bring it up is like my mom. When my mom, granted, even though Puerto Rico is a Commonwealth of the United States, but when they moved from PR over to Massachusetts, it was the same way. She's one of 7. So she had to bring up everybody else. And it's different because you don't get to experience childhood the way normal children do. And I think that's the tough part, because it takes away a part of that life experience. It's like people can't go to college because they can't afford it, whatever the case may be. It's different to hear someone talk about, oh, I remember these parties that I went to, or I remember going and joining this club over here. So you've had to endure a good amount in your life compared to now as an adult and reflecting back, which then takes me to the fast forward portion of your life where you haven't slowed down. So as a child, the responsibility you had, you absorbed, end up taking it in. But at the same time now, you are living that same kind of life, but as an adult, and then just putting your hands into everything. What makes Vanya just continuously want to just be eager, keep growing, keep learning? What is it that makes you as an adult now just say, you know what, I'm not going to slow down yet because I still have more work to do?
I love that question. I think it's because I did go through what I did go through. I feel like, you have two choices, right? You can give up on life or you can try to take life by the horns. So for me, having those near death experiences makes me appreciate everything that comes my way so much more than, regular person would. And I feel like I have this incredible gratitude for everything. And I feel like the day is too short. There's just too much stuff to do. There's too much beauty in this world to see. There's, so much opportunity to better yourself and to grow. And I feel like I would do an injustice to my parents and my family who have sacrificed so much for me to be able to be here, for me not to be the best version of myself. So not only is it to make sure that, I end up having a better life and an easier life in my golden years, but also I want to do it as a homage to my parents because their life has been affected, I would say, even more than mine, because as adults, they were taking care of 3 kids, making sure that we all survive. And it's a very big responsibility. And I feel like my parents are so brave for, their ability to bring us here into the land of unknown without speaking the language, understanding the culture, knowing what's waiting for us. It was a big leap of faith that they did. And I'm grateful that they did do that. So, life is too beautiful to just take a back seat and just relax. You just have to, do maximum that you possibly can.
You do, because you're right. When it comes to the golden years, we have, thankfully, we're all still young enough to be able to say, you know what, I can pause life. I can wait for that time to happen because you have to enjoy it. I say this all the time. You're guaranteed what happened in the past. We're guaranteed the moment, which is the present. You're not guaranteed the future. So it's best to always have as much fun and maximize your day to the best of your ability. Because again, I know there's a lot of us, and it's like when I lived up in the Northeast. If you wanted to, you can work and do what you need to do. And if you party that night, so let's just say if it was a Thursday night, it was a band or something, like something that you wanted to see. You knew daggone well that come Friday morning, if you had to be at work at 5, you could have party till 3 a.m. You go home, take an hour nap, shower real quickly, and then you take care of responsibility. So therefore you can keep living, but you enjoy life. And even if you cut your night short sometimes, it's worth it, because if you don't take that risk or you don't go to that event or something happens and God forbid, just some freakish accident happens the next day, you're always going to be living with that regret. Like, why didn't I do this? Why didn't I take that risk? Why didn't I take this chance? It's the same way you traveled overseas to find someone that you feel that it's a compatible match, right? And then it's the same way. You have to be received the same way. But the good thing about you that I've learned on watching the episodes is that you always find a positive, no matter what it is. You could be down for, I don't know, I'll say like 15 seconds at the most, and it might be a little bit longer than that. I'm just pointing out there that you never keep yourself down. You always find a way to spin things. And the reason why I bring that up, because you had just mentioned something not too long ago. I want everybody to hear this message. This is from your YouTube page. If you guys don't have to subscribe now, I'll bring it up in a little bit. But this is a good message for people to hear. Of course, I wanted to play.
You are the most powerful person, and you are the one in charge of your life, and you are the one in charge of how you see things. So it's all about perspective. I choose to be positive. I choose to be happy. I choose to always be optimistic, and that it's always glass half full. And it's glass half full of coconut water, because that is good for you.
So you take that, right? And it's your words. And just like you had mentioned, it's the great part about it is that you never want to give up on life, no matter what. You're never going to find, sometimes if we look for the perfect person, we're going to keep looking. Versus if someone comes across in your path in life that they were meant to be there, that's the better part, because we all know there's maybe a certain person that we want. There's a certain personality that we would like. There's maybe a certain ethnicity. There's all these different elements that we end up doing. But just like you had mentioned, you always find a way to just make things either uplifting, positive. I mean, I listened to a couple of your videos, and there's, like I said, there's nothing in there that's ever negative. You always find a way to be inspiring and inspire others. So taking from that, relationship wise, and this, it's not nothing super personal or anything else. If someone just randomly, and let's say you're out with your girlfriends or you're out with your cousin, I believe, who appeared on one of the episodes, if someone approaches you, as long as they're respectful and they want to talk to you, are you, because everybody's different, this, we live in a whole different society. Are you okay with someone just like approaching you as long, again, as they're being cordial and respectful and want to get to know who you are versus, because we know there are people out there that come up to you and like, hey, how you doing? And then you get the corny line that comes along with it, which is, to me, is absolutely ridiculous. But are you okay with just like someone random that might come up to you and just speak to you and be like, hey, just want to get to know who you are?
I mean, that happens all the time in a grocery store or whatever. People want to say hi. I'm always open to saying hi, but if I'm not interested, then I just let him down easy. At the end of the day, everybody's human and everybody has feelings. And, I don't like unnecessarily putting people down. It's not my style. So, it's hello, hello. If I'm not interested, then we just move on. That's it.
Yeah, and it's tough. It's different. Again, I'm going to throw it back to back in the day. Like between myself and my wife, for example, when the reason why a lot of times we'll watch TLC, other than the good programming that they have, is because you try to minimize your own drama in your own life. Thankfully for us, it's like very, very super minimal. Anything, and I think the most drama that we might have is like, where are we going to go next? That's the big thing. But it's that relationship when you don't expect for it to happen and you don't think about it.
The best ones.
Yeah. Because then it's like
a lot of friendship. Yep.
Oh yeah. It is the best one because you don't think about it. Like you never had to impress that person. It was like, wait, did that just really happen? Like it naturally builds, and that's the best thing because then you understand each other better versus I couldn't, first of all, there's no way in the world today I can do the whole online dating because it would drive me bananas. I'm a person like you, like I approach me, talk to me, and I'll talk to you. But if I got to talk to you through a phone, to me, it doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't because you're not getting to know the person.
It's changed.
It has. But it's the same way though, because you go to these restaurants and you even see the people with their friends and all. Can't you just put it down so you guys can enjoy dinner with each other, have fun with each other?
Worse. I hate that. And even when I dance, especially little kids at tables, they're not even paying attention to the show. They're just stuck on their phone. And I just find that to be so sad because, they're not developing their social skills or their imagination or anything. It's just, immediate gratification through the phone. And it's really sad. And that's what, a lot of our societies become nowadays.
Yeah. And it really is. And speaking of, because that's the other thing as well, for belly dancing, you just happen to pick that up. It wasn't like one of those things that, oh, well, I want to just do this because I think it's a good trait. You just find things that, again, that make you feel good. And then you spread that good vibe to everybody else. So how did that all become, a part of you as Vanya and then learning the different elements? And then you had, if I remember correctly, in one of your stories was some random guy was basically working with fire. And then you just asked like, hey, how do I do that?
Yep. So belly dancing started because I was actually a student in college and I had a scholarship that was actually taken away during the summer semester. So now all of a sudden I could no longer afford to pay for my classes. So for the first time ever, I had a summer where I didn't have school. And, in addition to my work and everything, obviously I had to find something else that I could do that's constructive. So I found a community class with belly dancing and I joined and I had 2 left feet. I didn't know what I was doing. And then I was too embarrassed to dance in front of the class. So what I ended up doing is this was back when the VH tapes were a thing.
Oh, yeah.
I got a VH tape on belly dancing and I put it in my VCR and I locked myself in my room until I was good enough to perform in front of other people. So I just drilled until I felt like I was comfortable enough. And then it just snowballed. So now I do Indian Bollywood and Bhangra. I do Persian Baba Karam. I do Samba. I dance with fire. I walk stilts. I do all the Latin dances, Kizumba, urban kids, everything. So it's just I always find something that intrigues me, and then I try to get better at it.
See, but and I think that's when you got to figure. So we as men, of course, we like to, and I'm not going to say, because I don't like to dominate. That's one thing. I don't believe in the whole domination thing, because to me, everything should be 50-50. That's the way I look at it. So if you meet someone and they have like all these multi-trades and they like to do different things, it's you hopefully find that person has the same energy as you do. Or sometimes you can find someone and be like, yeah, you guys so this is my girlfriend, Vanya, and just to let you know, she has multiple traits, not multiple personalities, multiple traits. So maybe tonight you'll get to see a little of the belly dancing, maybe a little bit, she'll make a sales pitch. So it's interesting when someone comes to meet you, because they have to adhere to like everything they like to do. But the positive side again to you is that if you go out dancing somewhere, you already have literally a leg up on everybody because of everything that you do and how you teach yourself. So since I start out with the music there in the very beginning, either A, what's your favorite type of music, and or as far as your favorite dances?
Wow, that's hard. I feel like I am a citizen of the world. So, you'll find me working out to Bhangra from India. I love the beat. It's upbeat. It's fun. I love reggaeton. I love rock. I literally love every genre of music, not just from America, but from around the world. And I find that that's just really nice. I just find things that strike a chord here or there for whatever reason, and I just incorporate it. So it just depends on the mood of the day. It can go from anything to everything.
No, it's again at the end of the day. Listen, at times, if the day's going a certain type of way, or if I know in the morning I need just a little bit of energy, I'll either put the headphones in and find something that'll get me going to get the juices flowing in order to feel like the show that's coming up and what's happening. Because there's sometimes, listen, I'll admit, sometimes you'll get that one person and like you feel like everything, like you're ready to just run through the screen and be like, all right, here's my guess and here's what's happening. And then it's like, and there's this pitfall. I'm like, I came with a burst of energy and this person didn't match my energy. Now what am I supposed to do? So
the energy vampire, that's what we call that.
Exactly.
Your energy. Yes.
Because you have to. I mean, how do you not? Listen, we could be depressed about so many different things. I mean, we just had not too long ago, we had the election. That went, thank God, because I know it drives a lot of people crazy. So that's gone. Then we had Veterans Day last week, and for me being a veteran, it means a lot. Like that's probably, truthfully, that day means more than my own birthday. And that's what I enjoy to celebrate. But when there's certain vibes that you just have to have, and you hope that the people that you come across, that you meet, that you go out with, that's what you want to have. Because again, we're not guaranteed tomorrow. We're not guaranteed the next 15 minutes. So when you're out with someone and your friends, it's just you let loose, let your hair down, and just keep moving. Because you do have a few videos up there on Instagram. Was it recently that you went to, I want to say, like, I don't know if you can say even EDM anymore. Before it used to be club music for me. But I saw the outfit. It seemed like you were having yourself a grand old time. Tell me a little bit about that night.
Oh my God, it was so much fun. But here's how I'm going to age myself. So my cousin and I went, and we were there from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock because we were tired. So we saw everything. We, experienced a little bit of everything, all the stages, and we just looked at each other. We're like, I think we had enough, and that was enough.
It's funny, Vanya, that you bring that up because it's true. Why is it as we get older? Like before, man, when we had a ball of energy, it was great because we didn't care. Sun was coming up. Oh, wow, that's the sun. Good.
I mean, I still do it. It's just then the next day you suffer a little bit. And I also, I'm a early bird. So if I sleep in until 8 o'clock, I feel like half of my day is already gone. So I want to be able to get up in the morning and just conquer the day, so that I have enough time to do everything I need to do. So it's not that I can't. It's just, the alternative is a little bit better to go to sleep earlier and then you get up earlier and then you can, fill your next day with more fun activities, which is what we ended up doing.
No, this is true. Because I'm the same way too. I can't, the whole sleeping thing, I can't do it. every once in a while it may happen, but there's no way in the world. Like I couldn't, I'm the same way. It's like if I get up at 9 o'clock, oh my God, like half the day is really gone. And now so now you're trying to play catch up, even if you had nothing to do, it's like, I like to get up early. I'm up early anyways during the week as is. I'm up at dark 30 before the sun comes up. I've been doing it for many years. But it's just me in general. That's the way I like to do things. But and I know I have to let you go here because you got more stuff to end up doing, more people to entertain, more positive vibes that you have to give to everybody else. But it's I will say it's fun watching you on the screen because again, we get to, even though some people may not be able to read the room, but watching what you do, how you act, even when your cousin appeared, and I think, before I finish up, was your cousin nervous at all when the cameras were there, or was she okay when it was like you explained to her what's going to happen and then she's going to be watching herself back?
I think everybody's a little nervous when, your movements and whatever you say is recorded. So it takes a little time to get used to it. But I think she got the hang of it and then it was fine. But, there's a little adaptation period where you just have to kind of just relax and go with the flow.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're absolutely right. It's all about the learning curve. It's the same way too. First, jumping on radio and being able to learn different things, being able to produce. I mean, does things happen? We make mistakes, things happen, but you learn, you live from it, and you keep it moving. Sometimes, I will admit though, if it's like one of those little ones that it like pokes a nerve, it's like, oh my God, why is this happening? But at the same time too, you laugh about it 2 minutes later and you keep things moving along. So I'm not going to give away anything because I want everybody to tune in because pretty soon the tell-all will be coming up, which I think that's really when all the juicy stuff happens because
it's gonna be juicy.
and that's what we're hoping for because you see like the commercial breaks are obviously when you guys are filming, it's a whole different thing as you're filming the series leading up to that point where everybody catches up to. But it's got to be, I would imagine the intensity because some relationships are either semi-good, you got some that are either bad, and then you got some that are just, are you kidding me? Just like a couple that's from season 5, I think, and now soon they're coming on to the Last Resort. And I wouldn't even give away the couple's name, but it's like, oh, do I really want to tune in for this one? Because you already kind of know what's going to happen. So with you having the experience that you've had, and I know you've had no regrets doing it whatsoever, because if you did, I'm pretty sure you would share it out with everybody. But what's the one thing that you can say out of the entire experience that you feel may have made you a little bit better understanding of yourself? Like, okay, this may not have worked, but I know what I need to do next time.
I think the whole experience is really, for me, it was a big learning opportunity, because it's not easy to share your feelings and what you're going through, not just with, your friends, but with the whole world. And, being out and open and putting your, as they say, dirty laundry for everyone to comment on. I find it to be a very incredible growth opportunity because I was able to do a lot of self-analysis and, should I have done it this way or that way, or what should I have done? And I just feel the whole experience has made me into a better person, and I'm so grateful for it.
Yeah, it's awesome because again, some people might see it other ways. The one
and I totally understand where they're coming from.
But I think the worst part is that I'm gonna let you go here in a second too, and then you can let everybody know exactly where they can find you as far as your Instagram, your YouTube, and everywhere else, especially with your link tree. But it's funny because we as humans, right? We try not to be judgmental. But boy, do we get upset because there's a personality, right? Like there's people that and I'll admit, my wife and I, like when you came on, we were like, wow, like she's full of life. Like this is great. And then we watch as the episodes come around, and then it comes to, really? That's what happened? And again, without revealing anything, but it's like, this is what goes on. So then there's a part where you feel bad. Like we feel for you, honest to God, because when we saw you went through, especially when you arrived there after being on the plane all that time, and then you get there and there's these big expectations. And then it's almost like someone just took the balloon and okay, all right, the air's out and here's what we deal with. But you still find ways, though, to make things positive. So I will say we are your biggest fans. We are also your biggest supporters. And we appreciate it because I can't wait to see what's going to happen on the next episode, which I wish there was ways I can secretly find it, but I know they don't leak it out there. But I would love to see what's coming up next. But I'm quite sure you guys are going to have a blast. And the tell-all, that's the big one that I'm really waiting for. So hopefully after the tell-all, then maybe you can come back once again, and then we can discuss other things because, again, I'm not revealing anything. I want everyone to tune in. 90-Day Fiance with Vanya, TLC. You guys, they have the Monday night version. Yep. They have the Monday night version you guys want to tune into. They have the Sunday one too, but Monday gets spicy. It gets spicy on Monday. So I can't wait to see what's going to happen next. And the other one too.
Sunday nights is the before the 90 days.
Yeah. No, that's true. But listen, there's certain folks that, anyways, I'll leave it at that. I'm not going to give it away.
I love the passion that you have for the show. I love to see that.
I bring it up.
You just get sucked into everybody's story. So I get to watch everybody else's story along with everyone else, and it's just like you said, wow, can't believe that happened. Wow, can't believe that happened. And then you just become thirsty for the next episode to come out because you just can't wait to see what happens next.
You do. It is honestly, guys. Yeah. You know what? Before I let you go, that apartment that you had, how that thing looked amazing on TV.
Yeah. It was incredible.
It looked like it was
right in the center of the city, right next to, the sea view and all the restaurants. And it was incredible. It was so good.
It looked like it's because, we're waiting for you to show up like at a hotel somewhere, like a normal hotel, like everybody else does. When you walked in, we looked at each other like, wow, really? That's where she's staying? Like it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. The cookies, they didn't make it, but.
No, they didn't. As people have been so generous in the comments to say I should have put it in a plastic container. Now I know.
But again, it's one of those things you live and learn. But it was
exactly.
One other thing I had on my mind here is we were talking about the ending. Oh, I know what it was. So normally on a sports network, and we do sports, life, and entertainment. It's funny because there are a couple of guys, even though they won't admit it, and they watch it as well. But the funny part is when the show's over, then they'll send me messages. Hey, did you happen to catch the last episode? It's like, see, I bring it up on air. You guys don't want to talk about it because you want to hide behind maybe your feelings or whatever. But no, I talk about it all the time. So folks, listen, TLC, Monday night, check it out. Vanya, I thank you so much, not only for the time, your vibes, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen next because I am dying to know.
Well, I am so glad that you're watching, and thank you for this opportunity to chit-chat with you a little bit. This is super fun.
You're welcome. No problem. All right, everyone else hanging out as we will be taking our next commercial break. So we'll be back momentarily. You're listening to Martinez Company live here on Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game. We'll be right back.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Anderson windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Anderson windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
What's up, Southwest Florida? Jim and the Beef Guy here. Fort Myers, we answered your call. We're pumped to announce the opening of our second location. It's on 41 just north of the Edison Mall. And guys, nothing's changed here. The beef, the sausage, the breaded steak, our Maxwell Polish, now serving you in 2 locations, Fort Myers and Bonita Springs. And don't forget, if you're having a party, check out our catering menu.
Hey guys, when you're at the counter, don't call it gardenia. It's pronounced Chardonnay.
Bill Castanetti Sports World in Saugus, Massachusetts is New England's place to buy or sell the finest in sports memorabilia. For over 35 years, Sports World has offered the finest in sports collectibles. Last month, you might remember Tim Thomas, legendary Bruins goalie, returned on October 5th. What a turnout it was. And now a new event coming up. On Saturday, November 30th, it's Willie O'Ree. Yes, the original Jackie Robinson of the National Hockey League. He'll be signing autographs to the public, $25 each. There'll be photos, pucks, and cards available phone orders are welcome. Just call 781-233-7222 for more information. Sports World in Saugus. Be there. Hey, everybody. It's Pete Shepard from the Coastal Sports Network. Want to tell you about my good friend Lou DiMuzio and his company. Lou is the president and founder of ACE Technology Advisors. They're big-time tech specialists. At ATA, they're able to craft, implement, and manage the best and most appropriate solution for your business. They leverage their industry-leading experience and their portfolio of technology partners to improve your best practices and infrastructure. So you can get a hold of them at 888-599-4223. That's 888-599-4223. Check them out on their webpage, www.acetechadvisors.com. That's www.acetechadvisors.com. Or you can email them sales@acetechadvisors.com. Check out my friend Lou DiMuzio and Ace Technology Advisors.
Ion Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontp.com. Ion Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by Ion Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
To some people, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much. But that's not necessarily true. By 6 months, they're combining vowels and consonants. By 9 months, they're trying out different kinds of sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on some meaning. Especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Early screening and intervention can make a lifetime of difference and unlock a world of possibilities. Take the first step at autismspeaks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
The following is made possible by Dad.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling all over it.
The dad joke. Corny, grown-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
Why do you have to be careful when it's raining cats and dogs? Because you might step in a poodle.
And kids that spend more time with their dads grow up to be smarter, more successful.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
And, with any luck, funnier adults.
Why didn't the skeleton go to the dance? Because he didn't have anybody to go with.
Dad jokes rule. So take a moment to make a moment and give your kid a laugh. It's as easy as going to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
That's really funny.
Okay, men, this is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're gonna go out there and be an all-star caregiver. It's up to you. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna go grocery shopping, cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You gotta dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments. Don't you forget about the pharmacy. No, you won't. Because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. This is your time to show the world, your family, and yourself that you're tougher than tough. Now go out there and be the best caregiver this world has ever seen. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick and proud aunt. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing. But not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. 1 in 6. That little girl sitting alone at the playground, she can't play like the other kids. She doesn't have the energy because she's hungry. School lunch will be her only meal today. It breaks my heart that this is the reality in our country. but it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste. This food is then provided to families and children in need. Being a kid should be about using your imagination, learning, and having fun. These children shouldn't have to miss out on simply being a kid because they're hungry. To find out how you can help end childhood hunger in your community, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Don't just follow us on the socials. Call or text the show 727-858-6650 and let us know what's on your mind. Now back to Martinez and Company.
I'm wide awake. I know the voices in my head wanna play. You gotta take me to the place where the bass. I know I hear them waves unfold. Rhythms and lights get to deep.
All right, welcome back once again. Martinez Company here. I am Angel Martinez. You are listening to the live version of the show, of course, on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays from 10 to 12 Eastern Standard Time. I'd like to thank my guest, Vanya, for coming on with me here. You guys can watch the show. I know I mentioned Monday nights, but I tend to forget that she is on, along with the rest of the gang, on TLC. There's two different versions. You have Before the 90 Days, which is on Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. on TLC. And then you have the 90 Day Fiancé, which is on Monday nights, both as spicy, but you can catch her on Sunday nights. Also, if you go to, which I forgot to have her mention as well, her social medias, you guys saw it coming across the bottom banner there. And also, if you go to Linktree, right, linktr.ee/ Vanya Dance, then you guys can find all her information up there as well. So it was the one thing, and I'll explain to everyone. And Rick, by the way, I got your answer about the plant. So I'll get you that one here in a second. But so, and yes, she does live nearby us here in Orlando. But boy, I forgot for a second there. I was going to say other than Rick stuff, but anyways, oh, I know what it was. Sorry. So there's only certain things, obviously, I can't bring out a bunch of juicy stuff when it comes on to, because the episodes have not all completely aired. So I would have loved to brought up the conversation with Bojo, as we talked about during the commercial break. But she will be back after the tell-all. Then after the tell-all, then all the spicy stuff can end up coming out. So you guys will have more of an opportunity to ask her certain questions, because again, I have to make sure I do not infringe on TLC and or Warner Brothers or anybody else for that matter, to make sure that I do not leak out anything, because I do not want to get anybody taken away from anything, and I want anybody's contract to get destroyed, none of that stuff. So she will be back after the tell-all. So you guys load up your questions, because I'm pretty sure everybody's going to have a ton of them. So make sure you bring it. But Rick, what she revealed to me was, so it wasn't apparently found in a dumpster. He actually purchased it, but it was never put part of, I guess if one thing I can reveal is that it wasn't put part of the edited version when they put it out there, but it was a joke, that it was meant to be a joke, as she says, that he loves to joke around. But unfortunately, that didn't make the cut. They thought it was more interesting if they find out that he's picked it up from a dumpster and they gave it to her. So yes, that was, she did find out that he actually did purchase it. It did not come from a dumpster. So hopefully you guys end up enjoying that conversation with Vanya. Again, she'll be back, and I can't thank TLC for the opportunity of being able to speak to her. So she'll be back after the tell-all. The tell-all comes up in about another 2 weeks or so. And then after that, she'll be back on. And who knows, maybe myself and my wife and Vanya will end up running each other into Tampa. I don't know. Just throwing that out there. You never know. But thanks again to my producer as well, who ended up helping me out on that one. So I can't thank my wife enough for a lot of things that she ends up doing for me here on the network. But hopefully, once again, you guys end up enjoying it. I did want to bring up, prior to closing out the show, as I mentioned beforehand on Get Up, the one thing was, let me scroll back up here to the top so I make sure I start right where I left off. The one thing that I guess people keep talking about back and forth, other than obviously what's going on in Jerry's world, Get Up had mentioned about maybe, Deion Sanders pairing up, who they believe would make the most amount of sense. And then also there's been something that was told, alleged, supposed, then maybe he does want to leave Colorado. Maybe he stays there. No one knows. But, we're all going to find out like everybody else if he decides to leave or not. But to me, it's interesting because, Deion is going to be in that conversation from here until the end of the regular NCAA season. And then during the offseason, they're going to figure out exactly where Shedeur is going to end up going. Does Deion decide to go with him? Is it a good combination package? There's going to be so much to go along with this. And of course, it all depends on win-losses left in the last two games for Colorado. So there's a lot can ride here, but some people have been saying maybe he goes to Vegas, and who knows? He may turn around and stay in Colorado. Or the other one was that he had mentioned that he would love to be back in Florida. Now, not saying obviously he would take the Jacksonville job, because I still believe that maybe they're in the running for Belichick, unless, TB12 convinces Belichick to be a Raider. But I think Deion talked about maybe possibly the Seminoles, possibly the Gators. Obviously, he's not going to do Miami because Mario Cristobal is not going anywhere. But here's an interesting take from the gang on Get Up from ESPN. Credit to them. And, does he leave? Does he stay? And who would want his services?
Yeah, as somebody who would have to be in the locker room, it would create a little bit of, I don't know, if the quarterback and the head coach are father and son. Because there's in NFL locker rooms, there's always this kind of sanctity of the locker room, right? It's the players, then there's the coaches, and then you also have the front office. And there's like this expectation that you're able to speak freely and that your relationships, one in and of themselves, are independent. If the coach doesn't like me, and then I feel like, well, does that mean the quarterback has a thing with me? Or if I get into it with the quarterback on something, does that mean that the coach is going to make decisions in a certain way? I think Deion Sanders is the best available head coach. I think Shedeur Sanders is the best available quarterback. I think it's going to have a lot more questions than answers with the opportunity to put them in the same organization. Yeah. It reeks a little bit of like Little League football. And I know it's worked in college, but I just feel like in the pros with so much money involved,
I think so.
It's going to be tough.
This is such.
Right. So you hear the guys there talking about it. Listen, it's going to be, no matter which way you look at it, it's going to be a tough sell. No matter how you look at it, it's definitely going to be a tough sell. Because you got to figure, if you're getting one, you got to get it with the other, and vice versa. That's the way you're going to end up doing it. And who's not to say that Deion says in the end, ultimately, it's really up to what he wants to do. Does he stay in Colorado? Joey B, out of anybody, has the pulse on what goes on out there with the Buffaloes. And, who knows? Deion has got to figure out what's going to be best for him. The same way like Dallas is going to figure out what's going to be the best for Jerry Jones and company, because who knows? I mean, that is imploding faster than what anybody thought. And there was one more here that I want to share out with everyone before I end up signing off for the day. But there's the one by there. This is the other one here, which this is a good one as well. This is from JJ Redick, and he talks about Redick talks about here about breaking down Saquon Barkley in the season would change the way the NFL views running backs. And this is because, again, thanks to, listen, Giants fans, thank you for Saquon Barkley. Giants front office, listen, everything could be different. We know what's happened in the present. We know what happened in the past. And so far, it's been worth Saquon being in Philadelphia because of the year and the season that he's been having. Not to say could it possibly happen the same way in Giants land, but thank you, Giants, nonetheless, because of Saquon and what he's been doing. So here's one. I might end up playing one more here before I end up signing off, but here's the chronicles of Riddick and why he feels that there will be a change of the way the NFL running backs are viewed, and mostly because of Saquon Barkley.
What has Saquon Barkley's season done for the running back market in the future?
Well, I think what it's done is it's sparked this kind of conversation now about on the field value of running backs versus dollar value, salary cap value, draft value. Because now, remember, we sit on the desk with Mel Kiper every year. Yeah. Right? And Mel's sitting there talking about you don't draft running backs in the first round. You can get them at any point in time. You can always, they're very interchangeable. But then when you look at a guy like Saquon Barkley, do you think that Joe Shane right now is sitting there thinking, man, maybe I shouldn't have got rid of him? Mm-hmm. You think that anybody's questioning Brad Holmes in Detroit right now for drafting Jahmyr Gibbs? If Jahmyr Gibbs wasn't playing with David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs right now might be leading the league in rushing. He may be an MVP front runner.
Yep.
The position now is going to be talked about much differently, I believe, in front offices in terms of the impact it has on your team, because some of the best running backs right now are on the best teams.
Yep.
And that is not something that is just coincidental. It is causal. That is what is happening to that position right now. I think we're going to see that conversation.
They're a good finishing piece. You know, build a team around it.
Right.
When you need that, they're the piece that could put you over the top.
Right. And again, valid points even by Greeny, because you got to think about it, right? When you start putting teams together, a big thing people always talk about all the time is that, we build around the quarterback. No one ever says you build around the running back. The Giants, listen, for all intents and purposes, the Giants did whatever they had to do in order to make things work for them. And now you figure that you have Jones now, the third string quarterback, Tommy DeVito moves up to first. You heard Pete talk about this morning because of the bonus that can be handed out. I mean, it's just, it's when your organization becomes basically just dysfunctional, this is what ends up happening is that, Drew Lock, I don't understand it. Like you're sitting them because you don't want to pay an extra $1 million or $2 million. That to me makes no sense. So, and I'm pretty sure, if my hermano was here as well, some people would just want for the Giants to tank the rest of the season and figure out, you know what, screw it. I don't want them to win because we're going to get the better picks. And then it all depends on again, how all the picks line up, how the teams, because don't forget, Chicago, not really in the same boat as the Giants, but you still have Matt Eberflus problem. I mean, yes, the OC made Caleb Williams shine a little bit more last week, even though they lost, but Chicago still has an issue regardless. And nonetheless, there was one more that I want to squeeze in before I call it a day. And this is about 3 hours ago again from the folks over at Get Up. As they weigh in on the culmination of the mistakes that ultimately cost the Ravens the loss with the Steelers. And again, you talk about another one. If you really want to talk about building something around, you take Russell Wilson out of Denver, take him over to Pittsburgh. Same way with Justin Fields, you remove him from Chicago, insert him in Pittsburgh, and it's a tale of two different tales. Now, not saying that, could have Russell Wilson, again, whatever you're dealing with over in Denver, the new change of scenery could have made it better. I mean, you got Bryce down there in Carolina that could ultimately end up being the same exact thing that maybe, they feel like it's going to be, better off for them if he decides to change a little bit of scenery. But here is the gang again from ESPN's Get Up. Credit to them as well. And they're again mentioning about what went wrong for the Ravens and I guess what went right for the Steelers.
Let me tell you something as somebody who was at that game and watched it. Derrick Henry not being on the field for that particular play is not the reason they lost the game. Where you have a team, the problem with the Ravens are the penalties. You know what the problem with the Ravens are? Just the Ravens. It's not, if the Ravens play like they should, no team can actually stop them because of this offense. But it's the penalties, it is the self-inflicted wounds, it is Zay Flowers' drop, it is a Derrick Henry fumble. It is like all of these things. Justin Tucker, what happened? Where are you?
Yeah.
There are other issues but beyond just Derrick Henry's usage. And back in September, John Harbaugh was asked about Derrick Henry, and he said he wasn't brought in here to carry the ball 30 times. Let me tell you something as somebody who was at that game and watched it.
Yeah, as she mentioned, he also mentioned too, if you guys happened to watch the pregame show on Sunday, because Kimberly had mentioned that, or as Greeny likes to call her, Kmart, when he was talking to her on the field, she mentioned how Lamar Jackson looked focused. He looked like he was ready for a game. And listen, we all know this. We hear this from every quarterback, and we expect for certain teams to win on Sunday, and then things happen. Does it mean that the Ravens are going to come apart? Does it mean that we can't see the Ravens in the playoffs? No, they're bringing up great and valid points. And yeah, Derrick Henry was there at the very end. Does it make a difference? No. In the end, everybody knows you have 60 minutes of play time to decide the game. Then at the very end of it, of course, you have overtime. And if you're like Donovan McNabb, didn't realize that obviously a game can end in a tie even after the overtime, but that's neither here nor there. But nonetheless, the way I see it is Ravens are still going to be in it. The Steelers and Mike Tomlin, and listen, I was one of those guys last year. Maybe I need to take a step back and take a look at it because I thought that maybe that Tomlin should have stepped aside. Even the gangs from Steel City Renegades, even they're diehard Steelers fans, and they have a great show that they put on Facebook. But even those guys thought, you know what, maybe it is time for Tomlin to step away. Maybe, just maybe. But it wasn't. He's proven to everybody that he resurrected 2 careers, Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. Now, Justin Fields may not have gambled as much as Russell Wilson. And does that ultimately mean it cost him the starting job? No. It's just right now, they know, God forbid something happens to Russell Wilson, they have a really solid backup in Justin Fields. And not also to say that other teams out there might take a look at Justin Fields and say, you know what, maybe we can use him as a starter for one season and figure out what we need to do next to build around, because Arizona, I'm quite sure, could be possibly done with Kyler Murray. I'm quite sure they're going to go through, talk about a rebuild, do this, that, and the other. You got the Cleveland Browns. They're going to be in that same situation. Are they going to be in rebuild mode? You got Jacksonville, Dougie P, which I really had high hopes and expectations for Jacksonville and Dougie P coming off a Super Bowl victory with the Eagles. So there's all these different elements that are still going to come into play by the end of the season. And not saying that, listen, Dougie P right now is in there. You guys had heard the comments earlier. I think we played it on Monday, but he said the finger pointing starts with him. And that's great. I'm glad he acknowledged that it does start with him. But ultimately, you got to look at it as the owner, Shad Khan, saying, is this what I want? I mean, I'm upgrading and making a bigger, better stadium for the Duval fans. Do they deserve this? Does Trevor Lawrence deserve this? Is it really going to be somewhere where it's a destination for Belichick? Who knows? This part of the season gets to be so juicy because either A, you're going to rise as a team in this organization, or you end up falling. Right now, my Eagles look great for the moment. They're running a 6-game win streak. Nick Sirianni's kind of toned it down on his pressers, and that's what we need. We just need Nick to be a head coach. You can be back in everyone's good graces as long as you do the job that you're paid to do. Be the head coach. Let Howie be the GM. Let him say goofy things or silly things or whatever. I just need you to be the HC of the Eagles so we can hope to obviously make it into the playoffs. And I'm just leaving it right there. Just make it to the playoffs. Hopefully we can make a deep run in the playoffs. But right now, I just need the team to make it into the playoffs. So Jets let go, as you guys heard at the top of the show, they let go of their GM. And it's a shame because it's not the GM. And we've come to find out it also wasn't Robert Salah. And right now he's probably giggling because he thought, well, you guys thought I was a problem. Now you think Joe Douglas is a problem. Look at the ownership. Same thing can be said with Carolina. Carolina is still in this revolving doors of who's the starter, who's not the starter, what are we doing, what are we aren't doing. Have we grown our fan base back? Have we lost our fan base? Are we out of touch? There's just a lot that's going to happen in the remaining weeks of the NFL season. The only thing that stinks is just that. We only have remaining weeks when we all wish that it would be all season long or all year round. But hey, we have different leagues that have started up and they've come around and we get football for the most part throughout the entire year. But I guess as much as we like to talk about the NFL, there's nothing like it. They put out a good product. We may love it. We may hate it. In the end, ultimately, they really do put out a good product. All right. Thank you all for tuning in today. Once again, I'd like to thank my guest from earlier with Vanya. So thank you to Vanya for coming on the show again. She will return back after the tell-all has happened, and then we'll get to know all the good, juicy stuff that happened from the time, she was brought on and her experiences and everything else, because again, I want to make sure that I did not infringe upon any future episodes that are coming out from TLC. So she will be back the next time tell-all. I'll make sure I'll put it out as a promotion so you guys know exactly when and where, as far as the date and time. Obviously, it'll be here on Coastal Sports Network, but I'll let you guys all know exactly when that's going to happen. But in the meantime, thank you all for taking care of you, one another. And again, thank you to our men and women of our country who serve in the Air Force, Army, Marines, Navy, everywhere. Coast Guard, I'll throw you a layup, Coast Guard. I kid around, but yes, Coast Guard and Space Force and everyone else. But thank you for your ultimate sacrifice for allowing us, including myself as a veteran, to do what we can do to help out our great nation. So thank you all. Have a great rest of your day. Don't forget, check out sr1029thegame.com. Look around the content. Things have changed. Therefore, you can take a look and see where things have moved around. All the live shows now excuse me, or on the sports radio tab, and check out the new virtual interactive portion of USF Athletics, excuse me, that I have updated there on the website. So always take a look around, visit it there for you guys can see when things have been changed. Don't forget, you can also download the app directly from the website, and what you see on the website mirrors the app. Therefore, you don't miss or skip a beat. So thank you all once again. We do appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day. I'm Angel Martinez. You've been listening to Martinez Company here live on Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game. Have a great day.